Pennsylvania's state system of higher education. 14 universities, infinite opportunities.
Hello, I'm Frank Brogan, Chancellor of the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education, and welcome Pennsylvania to another installment of Infinite Opportunities. This is our opportunity to talk to you, the people of Pennsylvania, about our 14 wonderful state universities that do comprise the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. Today's show is very special. We're going to talk about something that is near and dear to the hearts of everyone in the world of higher education, and that's the issue of advancement, philanthropy, generosity of people to help support the 100,000 students who make up our state university system. We have three important panel members who are with us today, and I'd like to introduce them to you now. First of all, to my far left, we have a student with us today, Christina Arvello. Christina is a senior biology major with a concentration in pre-physician assistant at East Stroudsburg University, and we welcome her. To my extreme right is Jennifer Hartman. She is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education Foundation and does wonderful work there. To my immediate left, we have with us today David Dentler, who is the Senior Director, Membership Development for the Pennsylvania State Employee Credit Union, which is a significant and important part of the state of Pennsylvania. Welcome to all of you, and we're going to jump right into this. And Jenny, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about your role in the foundation and the work that you do?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So we are a very proud partner. Our foundation is the institutionally related foundation and the 501c3 public charity for the state system. And so we're really charged as the fundraising arm of the system to identify with you and the Board of Governors the priorities that will advance the vision and mission of the system for the state and for the students, and raise money to accomplish those goals and fulfill the priorities. So we're really a proud partner.
We're delighted to have you in the state. You do great work. And Christina, as a student and a recipient,
Yes.
How important is the work that you do as a student, and how is important the support you receive to it?
Oh, I mean, the support that the scholarship has given myself as a student and others much like myself is unbelievable. The fact that I'm able to sit in class every day and actually focus on schoolwork is amazing. I don't have to worry about money, about tuition. I'm able to just be there and learn and study. And that's important, especially if I want to be a member of the workforce community later on, of course.
Well, and David, the Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union has done a lot of great work for a long, long time, but also recognizes the need to give back and be great charitable, philanthropic givers. Tell us a little bit about PSECU.
Well, we're very, very fortunate and proud to be a sponsor of Pennsylvania's State System of Higher Education Foundation and support the students like Christina throughout the system. We believe higher education is a very important commodity in Pennsylvania, and we need to support that in whatever way we can, and that's what PSECU does.
Well, I know we appreciate it, and as often is the case in this program, we like field trips. And so our first field trip today is going to be to Millersville University, and we're going to cut to Millersville, and they're going to tell us a little bit about their advancement and philanthropic efforts at Millersville U.
And folks ask me, Greg, what do you like about working at Millersville University? And what I love is the thousands of students that are on campus, the energy, the excitement, the youth, the diversity, all of the energy, all of the learning, all of the great things that are going on every day. So many of these opportunities, learning in the classroom, global education, student-faculty research, performing on the concert stage, performing in the athletic venues, are all made possible through donations to the university. In the past, the majority of resources restricted to our annual fund were provided to student scholarships. So we've recently rebranded the annual fund the Scholarship Fund so our donors know exactly where their dollars are going. Gifts to the Scholarship Fund go beyond bricks and mortar to the university. From learning in chemistry labs to archaeological digs, gifts to the Scholarship Fund make these opportunities possible. From talking with students, I've learned firsthand about the impact that gifts to the Scholarship Fund make.
I had a really good opportunity to do a research project with Dr. Kennedy, and our goal was to create a molecule that had antibacterial properties.
Into that project in particular, we've had student research grant funding from the university. The grant resources have helped our projects tremendously. Most of our projects in chemistry wouldn't happen without the grant resources. We need chemicals, supplies, equipment. If you take the grant resources away, it would be really hard to run the reactions.
I'm involved in about 5 organizations here on campus. One of the organizations is the Early Childhood Organization, which is long for ECHO. We do a lot of different things on and off campus that work with children, and oftentimes we need funding to be able to help us transport to these places, to be able to provide supplies for certain events that we have.
Without this funding, I think that the everyday operations here at Millersville would be negatively impacted. In my field of education, they wouldn't be exposed to current trends and programs and things that are going on if we didn't have the funding to be able to bring those directly into our classes.
In today's students, I see students who are really motivated to pursue their passions, to do things that they're excited about doing, but they're also hard-headed and realistic about getting good job training.
I have found myself involved in a variety of various activities within the campus community, from theater, chorus, to currently my work on both the METV Television Club as studio technician and currently here in the archaeological lab.
Our students know that it's a hard job market to break into. One of the ways they're preparing is doing field projects.
In the future, I would like to hopefully continue my archaeological work here. This is very exciting, and I definitely don't want to let this go anytime soon.
We're back to this installment of Infinite Opportunities, and today we're talking about the importance of philanthropy in the world of higher education, and in our case specifically, the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. We've got a great panel, and I'm going to, in this segment, turn my attention to Christina, who, as I mentioned, is a senior and will graduate in May with a degree in physician assistant. Very exciting, the world of biology and science. But I want her, if you would, Christine, to tell us a little bit about the importance that the scholarship you received, which is the Sanofi Pasteur Community Annual Scholarship, has played in helping you ultimately complete your educational experience.
Of course, it'd be my pleasure. The Sanofi Pasteur Community Annual Scholarship has been an enormous help. As a biology major, you can imagine we spend most of our times with our nose in our books and studying, pulling all-nighters. And actually, the way that I got my scholarship was a complete surprise. I didn't even apply for it because over the amount of time, my years of experience, I never really thought I would get one. My father was a projects manager in Manhattan, and he made a significant amount of money. But then one day he lost it, and unfortunately, that's when this scholarship played the most important role. With that, we all kind of had to contribute in our own way towards the household, and as the household income kind of dwindled down a little bit with his loss of a job, the scholarship really helped. And like I said, it was a total surprise. I didn't even know I got it, and then I got the email saying, congratulations. With that, though, the scholarship has enabled me to kind of continue my education. I was worried that I would kind of have to drop out like many seniors do at this time. It is hard for them to continue their education. I know a lot that have dropped out because of income. And that's very unfortunate because they are very bright minds. With me, I actually work 2 jobs and I do observation hours on the side, so I do have a very busy schedule. But without the scholarship, I don't know where I would be today. And I'm very excited to be graduating and continuing on.
And I'm sure it made your father a very happy man
Yes.
after losing his position to be able to know you were going to be able to continue your higher educational experience.
Yes.
Good for you as a family, too.
Thank you.
David, Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union has for so many years not only served the employees of state government, but in our case, many of them are employees of the state university system, but also recognize the importance of the Christinas of the world in our system. Tell us a little bit about that commitment on behalf of PSECU.
Well, absolutely. We recognize that there are students like Christina who find themselves at some point in their college career in need of greater financial assistance. We're aware of a statistic that says that 1 in 20 rising juniors will have some sort of financial gap somewhere along the way, perhaps in the order of maybe $1,000 or $2,000. And while on the surface that doesn't seem like a lot of money, that certainly is to the students. And so that's where PSECU comes in the way of our scholarship support through the foundation. And we rely on the foundation to help us identify and put those dollars to good use for the students, just like Christina in those circumstances.
Well, that's fantastic, and I know how much we appreciate it, but more how much our students appreciate the extra financial support that's provided. And Jennifer, we are very blessed to have so many important sponsors in our system who contribute on an annual basis. Not only individual men and women, families, members of faculty, staff, students themselves, but we also have many corporate sponsors. Just to rattle off a few, we have Walmart, I mentioned obviously PSECU, longstanding supporter, Highmark, Pennsylvania Power and Light, M&T Bank, AT&T, and I could go on, who all recognize the importance of being good community partners and therefore find this very helpful. The foundation tries to tap that interest and commitment, yes?
Yeah, so we are so very fortunate to have partners that you mentioned and more investing in our students and investing in higher education. They recognize the importance, the transformation that education has on the life of young people and non-traditional students as well. But we're fortunate to have them invest in rising juniors and seniors specifically has been a big push because we know the #1 reason students drop out and stop out is because they're lacking some funding, usually $1,000 to $2,000, as Dave mentioned, and they need to take a break and fill their coffers and then hopefully go back. The sad reality is they don't always go back. So this scholarship dollars allows students to persist and complete their university degrees, and these donors, these investors, allow this transformational experience of a higher education degree.
And isn't it interesting that it flies in the face of the conventional thinking, which is it takes a significant amount of money to make a difference in the life of a student? It really doesn't. I think Christina is a good example of that. A little bit matters.
Absolutely.
Let's take another field trip. Let's go to Kutztown. Kutztown does a wonderful job in the world of advancement, philanthropic donation, contribution, and their students are some of the best around. So let's take a trip out to Kutztown and see what they're doing out there on this issue.
It is my distinct honor to present to you our honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters.
Well, this has been a very special year for me. I was honored by having Kutztown University give me an honorary doctorate degree this year. And at the same time, I was informed that I was receiving the Outstanding Alum Award from Reading High School. So Sue and I got together and wanted a way of thanking both institutions. So we thought it was the best way to do it is to pay for the tuition, the full tuition of a student who was a good student, a great student from Reading High School to attend Kutztown University, much the way I did.
Providing a quality education has been the core value of Kutztown University for 150 years. And better way to honor the tradition than by establishing the Chairman and Mrs. Guido M. Picchini Endowed Merit Scholarship, which we take pleasure in announcing today.
We're both first-generation higher education graduates, and we want to help promote that and help other students make their dream come true by mentoring, by funding, by whatever means we can to help them succeed. When we see a student like Ariana who is driven to be the best, do her best work, it just reinforces what our parents were teaching us, and it's almost like we're passing it on to her.
She's the perfect student to get that award, who comes from Reading High, of course, where I graduated. And will make a phenomenal student at Kutztown, and whatever she does, I'm totally sure that she will be successful at it.
When I first met them, the very first thing that came to mind is I really want to thank these people because they made my dream come true. I always wanted to go to college. It's like that dream when you get when you're a child. You want to go, you want to learn more. And I wanted to learn more and I wanted to experience more, but that was always kind of a question. You know, will I be able to? Will I have the money to? And they really did make it all possible, so all I wanted to tell them was thank you so much for making everything possible for me. After I graduate, I want to continue my education and go to law school, and anything I want from there.
We have to establish philanthropy from the very beginning, and I think students have to understand what giving back really means, even if it's $10, even if it's $25, to start the relationship back to the institution they graduated with, just to make it easier and more hopeful for other students to achieve the goals that they achieved.
Finding the right university, that's hard enough. Finding the money to go to a university, that is the hardest thing on earth. So if I was able to make a scholarship, I'm going to do it. Everyone deserves a chance to go to college, and it made all the difference in my life, and I know it'll make all the difference in anyone else's life.
Welcome back. We're talking today about the importance of cost of a higher education degree, in this case in the Pennsylvania State System of Education. But also we're talking about the importance of fundraising, philanthropy, generosity of people who are willing to step up to the plate and help our students, in our case 100,000 of them, reach their dreams, their goals, and their aspirations by donating just a little bit to make sure that that dream does become a reality. We're going to turn our attention in this segment to the issue of advocacy to constituency. Who are the groups and organizations? Who are the people that we reach out to and very much need to make those dreams become reality? And Christina, our wonderful student, I'm going to start with you in this segment. You are almost there. And you have told us in the previous segment that you're able to be in that position in part because of people's generosity. In your particular case, though, you also represent students, those who are with us, those who've gone on to great things after their graduation. Tell us about their commitments to generosity to our system.
I think that one of the commitments that students who are about to graduate, much like myself, or are alumni, I think a very important commitment is to keep donating and to keep giving. If you have graduated and you are an alumni, of course, then you should just kind of give back to the community. A lot of the time they don't really think, they think, you know, they put so much money into it just to even get their degree, but they don't think back to the students that are in that current situation. And it's important, you know, if you're in the work field and you have your career all settled, then just kind of give back what you can. And as a current student, instead of kind of that spring break money, maybe we can try and combine forces and do our fundraising and give back to the students who are struggling and are worried about dropping out and not finishing their career and getting to that point that they want to be at. So I think it is important as a student and soon-to-be graduate to give back. So.
No, those are wonderful points, and if everyone shared that commitment and that philosophy, it would be a great world to live in, that's for sure. But you're spot on, and David, again, PSECU does so much for our system and for our students specifically. There is the need to be a great corporation, and we have so many in Pennsylvania, but along with that comes the need to be great corporate neighbors. PSECU is one such neighbor. Tell us about the importance of just that.
Well, PSECU is very, very passionate about higher education and seeing students succeed, because we recognize that when the students like Christina succeed, we all benefit from that. We try to develop them into leaders that hopefully will become our employees at some point in time, and recognizing that, as Jenny said earlier, the investment, that we see that as an investment that will pay off, and we're willing to commit to make that investment happen. I think over the life of our relationship with the foundation, we've contributed over $1 million to that effort, and so we look to continue to do that and to be a good corporate citizen and community neighbor to see the Christinas of the system succeed.
And Jenny, we know that that second million that will be coming from PSECU will go even farther in terms of its importance, correct? Jenny, we've talked about a lot of constituencies who contribute so well, from individuals to corporations and everything in between. In your role as the chief executive of the State University System Foundation, how do you identify who potential givers might be?
So the best way to identify is figuring out who's passionate about your cause, who's passionate about higher education. So the most natural partners are alumni, right? So we talked about alumni. Then we talk about the folks who work at the state system. The faculty, the staff are very important constituencies. Then we talk about people who benefit from the state system product, the students who is interested in our important human resource of these students who are going to go out and be leaders and run this state next and fill our communities and the community of the state. And that would be corporations. And then we have foundations and individuals who are also very much interested in contributing to the higher education perspective of the state.
Well, I've teed you up for a reason, because the next package that we're going to view with our audience is that of the State System Foundation, so we can hear a little bit more specifically on exactly what our foundation does.
My one son wants to be a physical therapist, my other son wants to be a software engineer, and using the Career Coach tool did kind of reaffirm that the majors that they've both chosen are viable majors. You're always concerned about whether your kids are getting into a major where there's jobs.
Ultimately, the Career Coach is a way for students to understand what the job opportunities are in their particular region, given what their specific major is. And with Walmart, we understand that there's a huge gap ourselves in students coming out of universities and being able to marry them up with jobs that are readily available in a specific area. So that's why we looked at Career Coach as just an extremely unique opportunity.
It's hard enough trying to find what college you like, deal with prices, location, and then to, on top of it, figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life is difficult, to say the least. I myself, it took me months to figure out what major I wanted. I know plenty of friends that have no idea what they're going to do, so I would definitely advise them to look at something like this or take such a simple quiz just to figure out possibilities that are out there. The quiz on Career Coach, it analyzed my interests and my skills, and it brought me to the same thing I was interested in, gave me the exact major that I was looking at, so it really seems like it works well.
My daughter is a sophomore in high school. She has a lot of varying activities that she does. She does music, astronomy, and she wants to be an entrepreneur. I think being able to hone in on maybe what a major would be for her is very helpful. They're able to get on there and use the resume builder. They're able to look at jobs and wages and just the local economy and see what's out there for them in their major, and just to reinforce that the major they have chosen is the correct major, and they'll be able to come out and work and make a living at it.
And the program is being piloted at 4 universities, but we're already underway and in discussions this year about how to take this to more schools, more students within the system, hopefully over the course of the next year.
So I went on to Career Coach and I put in my major sociology, and a whole bunch of careers popped up. One of my favorites that was really interesting to me was Equal Opportunity Officer. I think it'd be really cool. I learned a lot about it. I learned its pay, what my responsibilities would be, how much it's growing, and what I could prospectively do in the future with it.
We feel at Walmart as if it's part of our investment to help invest back in these communities and these students. So we are so proud and excited to partner and be the first one to come in and be part of this. And for us, we don't see this as a one-off type gift. We see this as something we're investing in for as many years as possible.
Welcome back to Infinite Opportunities. Again, I'm Frank Brogan, and today we're talking about the importance of giving to our Pennsylvania state system of higher education. We've got 3 great panelists here with us today who are experts in each of their areas, and that certainly includes our great student Christina, who's with us today, and will be graduating in May, so get ready, Pennsylvania. This segment, I want to turn my attention to the issue of volunteerism, service, contributions in other way than the traditional consideration of stroking a check. And I'm going to start with Jenny Hartman, who works with our State System Foundation, but also works with our 14 universities in a collective manner that is really very positive and very productive for all. So, Jen, tell us a little bit about the contributions that we receive in other ways.
Great. So, as you mentioned, each university has a foundation that is pretty much responsible for raising money and building relationships for the organization or the enterprise of the university. So we are all very donor focused, and we are looking to make every donor experience, whether it's a volunteer effort, serving on a board, raising money, giving back as a mentor, any way, very positive. But we've worked really closely with the university foundations to make giving feel very, very good. So there are opportunities like the annual appeal that all of our universities do. There are opportunities through planned giving and estate planning There are vehicles through major gifting and pledging, but we are very donor focused. We will work with anybody to make a meaningful contribution, to give back and support this great enterprise of the state system of higher education in Pennsylvania.
Well, and as I transition to Christina, I will also remind our viewers, if any of you would like to donate to our state university system and one of our 14 state universities, please go on our website and let us know about that. We'd be happy to have you join the family. Christina, you are a member of the family as a student. And too often people think of students as going to class, doing their laundry, going to the meal plan, cafeteria, the dormitories, etc. But students are also tremendously generous with their time.
Yes, we really are. A lot of students do spend their extra time fundraising. I mean, a lot of people think it's only in the Greek life, but there's so many extracurricular organizations on campus that really allow students to fundraise and just help out their community a little bit more. In Phi Theta Kappa back at Northampton Community College, I was part of a bake sale, just a simple bake sale on campus that raised over $1,000. And on my own time, I volunteer with Meals on Wheels on their annual wing off. Also, another way that a lot of people can help give back is just to allow the students to connect more with the community around them. If they're out of state, it's kind of hard to find those connections if they do want to stay in Pennsylvania. And it's hard for them to connect to the world around them. So the transition from going to a senior into a member of the workforce can be very difficult at times because they don't really know who to talk to. So just that aspect alone and kind of just being on campus and being physically able to talk to much like people like yourselves is a tremendous opportunity for students.
Mentorship
Yes,
is a very
mentorship.
important part of it. Absolutely. Yes. And David, Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union has been serving in those kinds of capacities beyond the direct philanthropic contributions to the system for many years.
Yes, we have financial education centers on the majority of the state system university campuses, and through those financial education centers, we employ our students there in the way of internships and provide them opportunities for learning outside of the classroom and to become interns at PSECU. Since the inception of the program back in 2000, we've had over 600 interns, student interns, come through the program, so we're very proud of that.
That's fantastic. And folks, I wish we had more time because you are marvelous guests and you've really contributed on your own so much to our system today by sharing with the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania our efforts as a system and by university in helping our students be as successful as we know that they are capable of being. The 100,000 Christinas who are out there who are going to go on after graduation not only to make the Commonwealth a better place, but to change the world and make it a better place at the same time. If you are interested in donating, please contact the Pennsylvania State System of Higher Education. And as always, I like to end by saying thank you for showing interest in our system by joining us as a member of our viewing audience here on one more installment of Infinite Opportunities. I'm Frank Brogan.
Come back next week to learn more of the infinite opportunities at the state system's 14 universities, or visit us online